How's it, everyone? Welcome to F.03. We've got a special guest today. We've got Rampedi, who's a football analyst, local football analyst. We've got Claudio, the Liverpool supporter, who used to play for the reigning champions of Varsity Cup, Tuks. And we've got Nick Stothard, the current coach of University of Pretoria's Varsity Cup team and a former player of the Varsity Cup team, and now the assistant coach as well of the Glad Africa Championship Tuks University. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
Yeah. Quality title, man. Quality title.
Heavy title. But yeah, no. Thanks for joining us, Shakes. I think we can start maybe with a little bit of an introduction about you in terms of how you got into this whole football analysis space and also how you grew your following. I think that's also a thing where a couple of people want to always grow their following because they love football and they're always commenting on football, but they never get that following. I think you just got about 11,000 followers. So just tell us more about yourself and then how you got into the space.
Yeah, so I'm Rampedi, as everybody would see on the screen as well. So basically, I'm a person who just loved watching football a lot. Growing up, I loved watching football a lot. Kaizer Chiefs quite a bit, and as well as also the international space as well with Arsenal. I'm a huge Arsenal supporter as well. I must mention hard times for me with Arsenal. I must add, it's been some hard times, but we carry on the march. And basically what happened with me with regards to social media, I had Facebook, I had Twitter, I had all of these accounts, but necessarily I was just tweeting from just a fan. I actually saw another reminder of a tweet that I did in, I don't know, it was 2012 or 2013 about Love Back. It was just a lot of stuff I was tweeting about necessarily. And so my brother, who is known as Shabzy Medallion, but I call him Leshawe, he told me, he was like, man, you watch a lot of football, you have a lot of thoughts about football. Why don't you just put the phone up and record and post it on social media? And I just thought, I don't know, man. I think people are going to judge me, man. I think I'm ready for that, Yeah. Then he just told me, just put up the phone, just speak and just post. And basically, that's what I started doing in 2017 late. I started posting regarding what was happening. And I started posting about international football, but I realized there were not a lot of people that were very interested in hearing about international football. So I thought, okay, let me try local. Let me see if people will respond to that. And a lot of people responded. And then I remember there was one video that really did the numbers. That was after, I think, Chipa beat Kaizer Chiefs at FNB. It was around Steve Compella's era, and that video flew. Like it really did well. And I thought, oh, okay, so people like to hear my thoughts regarding this. And from then on, I just started posting videos. I started realizing that I'd have to be very consistent. I also realized timing was everything. So if a game had happened and the trends, so Chiefs is trending or Keeper United is trending or a particular player is trending, just say something about it. Say something and do it very quickly as well, because you don't want the trend to sort of go away, because once the trend is there, a lot of people are watching. So basically, that's what I did. I started to also pick up on hashtags as well. So people do use hashtags quite a lot. But I would say in terms of how I grew my following was just having to be consistent, the timing, hashtags, knowing what to say as well, and what people would sort of find interesting in terms of what you have to say about the game. So that's technically my story.
No, that's pretty cool. I just want to give a shout out to one of our regulars on the show, Arjun. He's based all the way in Australia. And yeah, too bad. Hopefully you're okay, man. I see you say you had COVID and so on. But yeah, I think, this show is going to be centered around our local football. So you're going to learn a couple of things about South African football all the way in Australia. And yeah, obviously we would like to hear your comments. You can also give us some comments on the Australian League, I guess, and give us your 2 cents. But I think with the structure of the show, the Premier League is coming to the PSL is coming to an end this weekend. Sundowns have already won.
Do you mind if I just touch on something quickly, just before you move into the local stuff? We just need to clear the air here. He's mentioned he's an Arsenal fan. The shows that we normally do all Premier League, You're not alone. You're not alone, Shakes. We do have Wonga Dengue. He's not here today, but the man has been crying on our show week in, week out. And you know what? If you're going to come back at some point, he's going to need your support. That's all I need to put out there. Now we can continue.
I'll be there.
Oh yeah, and then I see Aman has joined us from Indonesia. That's another guy. Well done for Brentford for making it into the Premier League. I guess we'll have Aman back on the show next season. But yeah, as I was saying, the PSL coming to an end this weekend. I think mostly, Black Leopards got relegated last night. Sundowns won the league already with 3 games to spare. So basically, the only thing that's not defined is the number 8 spot in the PSL, which is going to be between TS Galaxy and the team the shirt that I'm wearing today. At least we're still in a shout for top 8. But I just want to touch on.
Also, the relegation battle is hot there at the bottom. Our friends at Stellenbosch are. I've got friends there who are sweating. Yeah,
you spoken to Ben?
Sweating. Yeah, they are not happy. So Claudia and I have an ex-coach who's the NBC coach, Evangelos Velios. All those guys there at Stellenbosch used to be at Tux. So yeah, they haven't scored. They've scored 4 goals in the last 12 games.
Shit.
Not great.
Yeah, but they know where I live. My Pitso still here. I've got the same pair since the Varsity Cup final. So
no, man. I think you've aged a bit. You've aged a bit, man. But
I can run. Anyway, yeah, continue there, Silo.
No, but what I was saying is, I think as the gents just said, now I think the Stellenbosch and Chipa are fighting for that last spot, which I think is actually stupid. I think if you in that second last spot, you should be relegated. There shouldn't be a playoff with the guys from Glad Africa Championship, but that's another story for another day. So just want to touch on Sundowns' dominance. I think the 3 wise men have done a great job with Sundowns. No one. I think there was some doubters at the beginning of the season, especially with the Steve Compella coming in, having 3 heads of a ship. People didn't feel that they were going to be continuing with the dominance that they've seen under Pitso. So what's your take on Sundowns' dominance, and will they be continuing this dominance?
Yeah, well, honestly speaking, if you're speaking about Sundowns in terms of the signings that they made, I was actually looking at the list today in terms of the number of signings that they made for this season as well. And I think what was different with the signings they did this season was they almost poached sort of the best player from like different teams. So you'd find Modiba was a very influential player for SuperSport. Kermit Erasmus was a very influential player for Cape Town City. You found that also Kuliso Mudau, and as well as Kapinga were very influential to what Black Leopards were doing. So it was almost like Shaulile was top goal scorer of Highlands Park as well. So and Mvala was also key to them as well. So they picked out sort of, you would say, but the best players that you would say from those clubs. And in all honesty, I never had any doubts regarding because of the quality that they have, the squad depth that they had. If they did not win the league with this squad, guys, honestly, I probably would have questioned a lot of them in terms of the decision that they made, because they just had really a good squad and a very big squad as well. So the only disappointment I would have with Sundowns this season is that margin should have been a lot wider, in my opinion, especially considering the quality that they have and the depth that they have within the squad. And already I haven't mentioned players that are at the club still, the likes of Zwane, the likes of Vilagazi came back from an injury as well. Jali, Trumpkana hardly featured this season, and they won the league still. So it's a very big squad and a very quality squad as well.
No, I think what do you want to say, Nick? Because I think you've been involved with Sundowns.
Yeah, I mean, we are just looking at the squad. I think a lot would say that their squad is there for they're trying to sort of compete with all the competitions that they have, and hopefully they go far in Africa every year. I think that's the sort of mentality. But would you say it's down to the rotations weren't as often as you would have probably liked with a big team? I think Mabunda hasn't played once this season. Someone who was like key for them over the last couple of years. I'm asking you this because I know we have an agreement where we get a few loan signings from them. So I'm trying to look at this roster here to see who we can try potentially get for the new season. But looking at it, you've got guys that have won titles, guys that have done it regularly for them, but also haven't shown sort of their ability this year, because it looks like they've sort of stuck with a core 15, 16 players throughout in most competitions. So would you say that's maybe the reason why the lead isn't as far as you would have probably expected?
Yeah, no, I must admit, I think that's a very good point in terms of you mentioning them not rotating as much. You would probably even say the likes of Hashim Domingo did not see as much game time as you would have probably would liked him to see.
Margaman didn't even get on the field. Yeah. And he was supposed to be the next big thing, yeah.
Exactly. Morgan was being spoken about for years, especially at what he was doing at Cape Town Spurs. I was looking forward to seeing him play. We didn't see much of him. We didn't see much of Fremokan, and you sort of feel like these players could have definitely played a role. They definitely could have featured a whole lot more. And I think Sundowns were desperate to sort of wrap up the league. They had to wrap up the league, because had they not wrapped up the league, then it would have been sort of questions concerned. And obviously with Pitso going, I think the three wise men, as people would call them, they wanted to sort of prove that we can do it without him as well. Yeah. So we can do it without him. So with always having to play their best players, and you must remember the number of competitions that were in throughout the season with regards to even CAF, and then they had Nedbank Cup, and then as well as MTN, they got out the first round, but they were just so desperate to wrap up a trophy, because if they didn't get it, then was going to be serious questions asked.
No, I think you know what you find on Sundowns is that that pressure, you know, to continuously win. You know, I think Arjun is asking, is Sundowns basically the Man City of the PSL? It is basically the Man City of the PSL. You know, they've got the resources, and they're a well-run club. The structures that they have within Sundowns allows them to get the players and to identify the right players. But then the backing of obviously having a billionaire owner, you can get the best player from every other team. You've gotten Peter Shaulilile, who's been a leading goal scorer. So basically it is that whole thing of saying, it is the Man City of thing. And someone was saying that I saw on Twitter saying that it's almost unfair, the financial muscle that Sundowns has, when you look at when you compare it to other teams. And there was a question actually on our Instagram. We asked people.
Wait, is that you speaking or is that Bobby speaking? Because I know Bobby
it's not Bobby speaking. It's not Bobby speaking, man. It's just me.
Rumors that they want to sell the club because they're upset.
No, man,
that's as much money.
That's not true.
That's Sundowns.
That's not true.
I'm just checking.
South African football news like that, it wouldn't surprise me, man. Things are crazy, man.
No, but what I was saying is that someone asked on our Instagram, because we asked them to ask a couple of questions. Does the PSL have a salary cap? Is there financial fair play within the PSL? So what do you think in terms of it being skewed in terms of Sundowns being the team with the most money and them winning continuously?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, firstly, with regards to the financial fair play, there's nothing that I've heard of such sorts. I don't think it exists here. And I think it's kind of shown in the past couple of seasons in terms of the amount of money that they've been able to spend, the players that they've been able to get. And, in all honesty, Sundowns were always a very good side, even before you would say Pitso's reign, in terms of them having to get players. I mean, remember the likes of Joe Villegazi, the likes of Kakaompela that used to come to the club as well. And I think this time around, the one credit you have to give them is that it seems like they came with a plan to sort of dominate. And you can't underestimate the power with having an owner who is obviously a billionaire. Huge advantage, but not only just a billionaire who sort of allows you to do what you want. He gave Pitso the free reign to sort of do what he wants and sort of to buy the players that they needed and sort of allow him to do. It never interfered with regards to the transfer business, how they played formations, and I think they've got the resources. And my only thing is that people will say that, but Sundowns have got financial muscle, it's not fair and all that. I totally understand that debate. My only debate that I would say is that in the past couple of seasons, you look at Orlando Pirates' squad for some reason. For example, they've been able to get players on. I think they've signed probably 8-10 players per season in the last 3 seasons or 4 seasons that they've played, even under Michu and Rulani as well. Even this season alone, they've been able to get some high-profile names like Khatwayo, like Munare, like Jukumanja. They've been able to get some high-profile players. It's just that maybe at Sundowns there's a plan, and everybody knows what the plan is. And you would say with Chiefs, previously with Chiefs, what you would argue with them is that the quality of players that they have bought has not been good enough for the club. Before even the transfer ban, like you sort of ask yourself, was there really profiling from the club when they got Luis Macha, Chimambandare, Walusimbi? Was they really like scouting to
Chiefs
see
quality,
what is talent? Exactly. And it's funny enough, I actually went back and I thought, when was the last time Chiefs went aggressively good in the market? And that was the season 2012, 2013 when they got Kaka, they got Morgan Gold. They really got some really good quality. And I just think, yes, Sundowns, they've got the financial muscle, but the other teams too are able to sign. Look at what Amazulu's been doing as well. Yeah. They've really been able to get some gems. There's some really good players out there, and it's all down to sort of the planning and the scouting, I would say.
No, so pretty much it's what Celo complains week in, week out with regards to how Manchester United are run.
Exactly.
Saying a plan versus no plan. And that's arguably what we can say here about Sundowns. But Sundowns also, I just want to paint the picture for Arjun. Sundowns don't just buy the players; they buy the best players from all the other teams in the league, and then they put them on bench.
They do what Bayern do. They do what Bayern do, basically. They do what Bayern, because Bayern buys the best players in the German league, so that's what Sundowns do. You know, but Claudio, I think like you look at Sundowns and you ask yourself, you know, is there scope for them to continue the way of doing things? Because what you find then is that they are disgruntled players. You know, I've come across Sundowns players that maybe Claudio played with in the past that go to Sundowns, get frustrated for not getting game time, right? And then it's almost like you waste your talents, you know, at Sundowns, you know, so you find that they're hoarding all the players, but then the players don't get to play. You know, these guys are involved in this national team and then they get out of the national team frame because you don't play.
And what's worse is their age. So they go there, they don't play, they're getting older, they're getting decent salary, but then say their window of opportunity to play in Europe, all of a sudden there was a small window. But True. Now there's a fat clause of like a 50 million rand, for example, to go to Europe. It's a second division side in Norway or Denmark. I'm going to be spending 50 million rand on a player who's sitting bench at Sundowns. And that's one of the other things where they kill themselves.
Aubrey Ngoma is a perfect example. He's still owned by Sundowns now and on loan to, from what I understand, is they're going to make it permanent. But that guy signed for two big teams. I think he signed for Pirates and Sundowns.
He did.
He probably hasn't even played 10 games for both of those teams put together.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
I mean,
and he's a good player. I don't doubt his ability, but it's almost like I think he's good at a big team that's probably just below the big three, like a Cape Town City or Amazulu right now. But he's just another player when it comes to the superstars of those three clubs.
Just one more point I just want to say with regards to Mamelodi Sundowns and everybody who's watching this, because this does actually come up a lot. And I remember there was even times where people were saying the Chlorco prison or something that Sundowns is. You know, that was sort of making the noise. But I have a question that I need to ask, because we've seen this happen before. I mean, George Lvesa was the previous case as well. We've seen players that have come in and not played. I think that Somahuru is still at the club, and he's probably not even had more than 20 games in his time that he's been there. And he's been there for a number of years. But my question is that when do we start looking at the players, though? I mean, my thing is that it's like almost going to Gold City all the time, and I get scared of Tower of Terror because my heart races or something. Why do I keep going? Like, my thing is, why do they keep going? Because now the thing is, people will argue and say the paycheck is so good. And I'm just like, okay, well, if you players are going to go for the paycheck and not play, and you've seen people previously who have not played, why are you then going? You know, I think that's when we need to also question the players too, in terms of why you're going to Sundowns then.
Shakes, but a footballer's mentality is a specific one. It's one where if someone says, you know, you can't do this, you go, you know what, I'll show them. The likelihood is you'll go there, you'll probably sit bench, but you know what, I'm going to fight for my place and prove these people wrong. And then you'll end up never doing that.
Funny enough, actually, it's funny you say that, because I actually posted a video of when Ricardo Goss went there. And my video was questioning why is he going there. And the reason why I questioned it was because He was a starter at Wits. He was playing practically every single game, and then eventually he goes to Mamelodi Sundowns. And I just knew he was not going to dislodge Onyango because Onyango was very good.
But dislodge Kennedy Mwini and Riyad Peterson and Onyango. It's not just him.
Exactly. And what's funny, and it's actually Nick, it's actually a good point that you're making, because it's not like Mwini is not a bad goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's a bit older, but he's if you stick them in the goals, they're going to do a job for you.
Exactly. And my thing was, I questioned that, and people were in my comment section of that video saying, you see, you just being so negative. And I just thought, okay, let's wait and see. And funny enough, what happened, it happened in terms of how I predicted it. He didn't play so much this season as well. From someone who was playing every single game for Wits, he didn't play so much, and that's that's where Bafana Bafana should be looking at a 26-year-old goalkeeper who was playing all the time. Now he's not playing, and it's understandable because Onyango did win the goalkeeper of the year at some point, and he's still been solid as well.
No, that's true. No, I think it is a thing to look at. I just want to answer a couple of questions that been asked in the comments. Arjun, in terms of what's the biggest fee paid for a PSL transfer within the league, I think that Teko Modise one was quite big. From Pirates to Sundowns, I think that was about 17 million rand, if I'm not mistaken. Arjun, that's probably probably $2 Australian. I don't know, probably $2 Australian. I think the exchange rate to Australian dollars is probably like 9, 10, about 10. Yeah. So let's say $2 Australian was probably the biggest transfer that we had. And then in terms of who's a player to go from the PSL to a good team overseas, yeah, we've had a couple of players. We had Percy Tau who's playing in the Premier League now with Brighton. Obviously, he couldn't get a work permit initially, and he had to go via Belgium to get the work permit. We had Keegan Dolly, who was playing for Montpellier in France, but Bongani Zungu went to play for Amiens. So we've had a couple of players.
Gift Links as well has gone to Denmark.
Yeah. He's firing in Denmark. Yeah, so we've had a couple of players, but if we look at the past, we had some really good players in some big leagues. We had a Steven Pienaar who went from Ajax to Ajax Cape Town, then went to Dortmund, and then ended up at Everton and Spurs. Then we had Benni McCarthy also going via that Ajax route, Celta Vigo, and then ending up at Porto winning the Champions League. And then people forget that Tsepo Masilela. I remember I used to watch La Liga a lot. And Tsepo Masilela was marking Cristiano Ronaldo in 2010, 2011, playing for one of these Spanish.
Getafe, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was playing left back, and he was playing at the Bernabeu. So we've had players, and he went overseas without playing in the PSL. He never touched the PSL. He went overseas via because he did quite well. So we have had good players. I think we need to produce more players going into Europe. But touching on one of our best players, actually the one who's won Champions League, Benni at Amazulu. I think that in itself is a success story. We look at a change of ownership firstly, at a team that's been a sleeping giant. If you think about it, back in the day they used to be quite a good team, and then now with Benni McCarthy coming in, being the manager of Amazulu. I remember Jose Mourinho once commented when he got what's the Coach of the Month award. He says one of my former players is now a manager of the month, and he was quite happy. And it's always good to see that it seems like they're still in contact, which is good. Yeah, but
so what just to clarify that to our foreign viewers, there, Benni McCarthy, the one and only, the one that won the Champions League with Porto, the one that got fat at Blackburn and came back, and now he's coaching. He's coaching Amazulu, and he was second on the log with Amazulu underneath the richest club in South Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns. So there were talks of him going to Bafana Bafana. I don't know. Shakes, you need to talk about this.
He was a Golden Boot recipient of the Premier League with Blackburn. He got chubby at West Ham.
Whoa. He was second. He was second.
Okay, second to Drogba,
yeah. To Drogba, yes.
By one goal, second to Drogba. But what have you made of his success at Amazulu?
Yeah, well, talk about fairy tales, right? About the I can't believe you actually said that about Benni McCarthy.
I won't forget. There was an episode. Did you guys ever watch Gold Diggers?
Yes.
Where they would go to the
remember that.
players and then they show their homes. And I think it was when he was not a Blackburn, excuse me. I actually got that fact incorrect. I think it was when he was at West Ham. And they went into his house and he had this cupboard from top to ceiling. And it was like a 3-meter ceiling. It was just a cupboard of chocolates and sweets. And he's showing them, he's like, this is my secret stash. I was like, bro, no wonder you look the way you look there at West Ham. But anyway, sorry, as you were there, Sheikh.
No doubt. Look, I mean, Benni McCarthy's come to Amazulu. I mean, you got to remember, at the time that he found the club, I think they were 14th, 15th, or 13th, somewhere around there. And he managed to sort of get the club to second place without having to sign any players. And I think maybe I know a lot of people are giving Benni McCarthy the praise which he thoroughly deserves, with also the technical staff as well. But I really want to give a massive shout out to Sani Lezungu, the owner of the club, the president. I think it was almost like Roman Abramovich, what he did with Frank Lampard, like, because it didn't start off with Benni at the start of the season. It actually started off with Ayanda Dlamini. And eventually it didn't start off as well as they would have liked it to start. And he went on media saying that Amazulu's top is wants it to finish top 4. And even when he said that, I thought, okay, man, I don't know if you know, but in the past couple of years, Amazulu have not seen top 4, you know? So for him to go on and say that, and when it didn't start so well, he obviously sat down with Ayanda Dlamini. They had an honest conversation, and Bobby Ayanda Dlamini was not the man to sort of take the reins in terms of having to take them to top 4. They made some really solid signings, Mamela, Molenga. They've made some really, Makaula as well, a player that I love so much. They've made some really good signings, and Benni McCarthy to sway him in, to come back in. And let's also remember, the way he left Cape Town City was not really on good terms, you would say, in terms of the way that they were, and they with the losses and the draws that they were having at the time. And I think he came back different. Benni McCarthy came back different. He was smiling a lot more. He was happy a lot more. I remember when he was at Cape Town City, there was a lot of complaining. He did a lot of complaining. And I thought, don't complain as much. And he came in, he changed the team, gave them a new mentality. The technical staff that he got as well, Siyabonga Nomvete, you have to give him a massive praise as well. And to get them to second is actually pretty good. It's as good as you saying, why not coach of the season? Why not Benni McCarthy? I know they didn't win it, but considering taking Amazulu to second, for those who are watching from different countries, that's almost as good as, I don't know, what would we say? Would we say taking almost Crystal like Palace Leicester to second?
What happened with Leicester with that when Ranieri won them the league? Because the previous season they were, let's say, not and say the what's the 17th, they were probably like 14th or 15th, whatever. And the next season they win the league. It's as good as that, or the what West Ham did this season, I guess. I think it's comparable.
Exactly. It's something that you would compare on the lines of those in terms of what he's done to take them second as well. And you sort of ask yourself, imagine if he's just started the season with Amazulu, like what would have happened, So it's going to be very interesting what he does next season, because they have to keep it up. People are going to be expecting them to do it. And I just hope Sani Lezungu gives him the money to sort of keep on investing, just sort of like Leicester, how they're doing in terms of they won the league, but they're still being competitive within the top 4,
Nick, what do you think as an upcoming coach when you look at a Benni McCarthy success at Amazulu?
Yeah, I think for me, I think he proved himself at Cape Town City already. I think he sort of showed what he's about at a very ambitious club. It wasn't going into a small project when he did take over that sort of position. And he got them to sort of heights where, he became a legend in Cape Town again. And I think him sort of taking that break, I questioned the Amazulu move because I didn't think it fitted what he was about. But he sort of made it work for him. And what I like about it, and we're going to speak about Gavin just now, but what I like, and I give credit to the owner, is he said, or Benni probably said to him, I want to bring my people in. And he got who he wanted. He got his goalkeeper coach. He got his assistants. His assistant came from Cape Town, left his family there in Cape Town. Vasily, I don't know his surname.
I think.
Yeah. And so I think when you get given a project like that, and you get free reign on how you want to operate things. You know, it is challenging when you can't make as many signings as you would have liked. You haven't had the preseason. You know, I agree with Shakes. You know, for him to be in the mix for manager of the season surely has to be in question, because what if they did start with him? What if he had a preseason? What if he got to sign the players that he wanted to in the beginning? Maybe the three wise men wouldn't be so wise at the end of this this weekend.
That's interesting. No, but I think I think it shows the fact that Benni is a good coach and wasn't a fluke at Cape Town City. I think that's what people were trying to say, that no, you had one good season with Cape Town City, then the next season was a bit of a flop. So it was kind of almost for him to prove to everyone and say, hey guys, listen, I'm actually a good coach, and wasn't a fluke to actually do well Cape Town City. But next season will be interesting because already some of their players have been targeted by Chiefs. I know the left Zimkulisi, Chiefs wants to sign him, or has apparently a pre-agreement to sign him, and other players that are playing within the team will obviously look to earn a bit more money elsewhere, because also your team might finish second, but there's still stature within a team of Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, Mamelodi Sundowns, and also living in Gauteng, is where people want to mostly live. For Arjun and them is that, if you're living in Gauteng, which is Johannesburg and Pretoria, it's basically like saying you want to go to London, as opposed to go to Newcastle, where Nick, with the team that Nick supports. So all the players want to play in London when they think of the UK, So it's similar in South Africa. Or everyone wants to play for the Joburg and the Pretoria teams, which is where obviously the best, the guys who've historically done the best. So what do you think in terms of going into next season? Do you think they can sustain this as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they definitely can. I think Benni McCarthy has shown that he definitely can. And the one thing I love is that his team always plays. I hardly have seen them sit back. They really go for it regardless of the opposition. And look, I mean, they have to beef up the squad, because you sort of look at some of the players that aging a little bit. You would say Spelentembu's over 30s, Majora's over 30s as well. So they definitely need to sort of improve, especially in the striking department. I would say that Majora's come in, he's done the business, but it almost seems like it's just him that would be scoring the goals up front. I think Spelentembu should have done a whole lot better this season in terms of numbers. So they need to reinvest, and especially considering the fact that it is CAF, it is MTN8, it is going to be Nedbank Cup. I'm not sure if Telkom Knockout is going to come back or not, but there's a lot of competitions that they're going to be part of. And
you said CAF.
CAF. Yeah, CAF. So there's going to be a whole lot of competitions that they're going to have to compete with, and now they're probably going to have to feel the strains that Mamelodi Sundowns feels every season. So playing in a lot of games, so it's going to be interesting to see, but they need to reinvest as well. Just get in more quality bodies.
No, I think maybe they can open up like a trial, and then Claudio can go and trial, because I know Claudio wants to play. I think he still has hopes. He still has hopes at the age of 31 to still
Guys,
be a footballer.
I've treated my body like a temple. I feel like I could do what Cristiano Ronaldo is doing at 38, guys. That's all I'm saying. You know what? I want to make history, become the first player to be given a professional contract in the PSL at the age of 40. Can we do that? Can we make that a campaign?
Good luck.
Shakes, just a quick question. With Benni doing his licenses overseas, he was obviously exposed to a lot of different networks across the world. He's got networks with agents across the world, and he's proved at Cape Town bringing in European players is not an issue for him. He can do it. Do you think we could potentially see a couple Europeans maybe making the trip over the pond to play for Amazulu next season?
I don't see why not. I really do not see why not, especially with the connections that he's had. I think Lance Davids came to Cape Town City, and he was from Europe as well. You saw even Ronald Pucha, I think, was playing for Cape Town City as well.
He was very good.
He was very decent as well.
He had a big injury. I think that's why he ended up leaving.
Yeah, so I think definitely he could sort of pull his strings in terms of having to get international players to come in. I think also the youth as well. They won the Diski Challenge as well. So they did. Yeah, so I think even there you might have to see some players getting promoted from there as well. So there's a lot of streams that they can go. They can go Europe, they can definitely promote, and I think with Sundowns and the money that they'll get from finishing second, definitely can sort of also look out to see which other good players are out there within the league as well. But definitely, I think that I wouldn't say the sky's the limit, but yeah, they've got a range.
To say the spear, the spear can go as high as it wants to be thrown.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Jax, I wanted to ask you something from Benni McCarthy's sort of coaching capabilities. What has made him? Obviously, he's had the successful period, but what's been his strength as the coach?
I think it's a very good question. I think what I've seen with regards to Benni McCarthy is he could even make me feel like I'm the best player. He could take that out of me, even though I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I can't kick a ball. I can't trap a ball at all. But I bet you Benni McCarthy, his player management sort of, he gets players to love him, because even at Cape Town City, regardless of the fact that he parted ways with the club, he still had a lot of, respect from the likes of Gift Links. Even this season, when Amazulu played against Cape Town City and thrashed them 5-1, the players at Cape Town City were so happy to see him. Tyreek Phillies was happy to see him. Thabo Nadara was happy to see him. So he has the ability to have that sort of player management. So how he does it, it's absolutely beautiful. And he gets players to run through brick walls. And I think it's a quote that he takes from probably Jose Mourinho, in terms of, he said it himself, he would run through brick walls for Jose. So that's probably something that he's taken probably a page out of his book.
Cool.
That is interesting. Eish, now we have to talk about my team. And Shakes' team, actually. Yeah, my team and Shakes' team.
Not bad though. Arsenal and Chiefs both 8th and 9th on the log. No, similar. What?
Yeah,
no. You can't compare Kaizer Chiefs and Arsenal, because Kaizer Chiefs is in the CAF Champions League semi-finals. Arsenal was not in the Champions League, so at least you can say that. And Arsenal haven't seen top 4 in a while. Chiefs ended second last season. Okay, but the big news that came out obviously recently is the fact that Gavin Hunt got sacked with 2 games to go in the season. The Kaizer Chiefs, for those who are from outside South Africa, Kaizer Chiefs is the most supported team in South Africa. It's ridiculous the amount of fans they have in South Africa and across Africa. I think it's the second most supported team in Africa. It won club of the year in 2003 and so on. They're a big team. They come from Orlando Pirates. So we were formed from Orlando Pirates. But what do you make of Gavin Hunt sacking? Because I personally wasn't happy with the sacking, only because, right, the fact that it's 2 games to go, right, and Gavin Hunt has done so well in CAF to take us to where we've never been ever. We got us to the group stage. We've never been in the group stage. Got us out of the group stage. We've never been outside the group stage. Got us to quarterfinals. Now we got us to semifinals. We've never been so far. Allow him at least to finish off this journey that he's gotten us to, instead of firing him. I don't understand. I think, yes, the league performances have been bad, yes, and we were relegation candidates. But I think, what do you think in terms of the sacking? Arjun, Lucas Radebe came from Kaizer Chiefs. If you just want to know, that's Kaizer Chiefs, one of the Kaizer Chiefs' greatest defenders ever, and he went to obviously Leeds United. But yeah, what do you think of the sacking and Chiefs season as a whole?
Yeah, look, sure. This one is it gets me a little bit not emotional, but it gets me a little bit upset because of the fact that I was surprised. I really was. I mean, there's 2 league games to go. Practically, okay, now 1 is left, but there was 2 league games to go. And you're talking about a coach that has taken Kaizer Chiefs to the semifinals of the CAF, like you said. I think there's a lot of things that probably he could have done better, that he probably could have, in terms of some of the substitutions, maybe players that he could have used as well. But because of the timing as well, it was very interesting that they did it now, because if you're basing it on simply results, then he should have been sacked a long time ago. I think he probably should have been sacked months ago. But now to sack him at this time, you're sort of asking questions. Why was there a disagreement as well? And I think also another thing for me is a conversation I feel that we're not having enough is the squad, man. The squad for me, I think, has really underperformed. I think it has really underperformed the squad. I think there's a lot of players who hid. I think there's a lot of players who had not so great performances as well. And also the fact that he didn't have his own transfer window. I think people can't underestimate that. And also another point that I want to make to everybody who's also watching and all that stuff is people keep going on about Chiefs finished second last season, which they did. You can't take it away from them. But people are also forgetting that when you sort of dig deeper into them finishing second, it's Ernst Middendorf's last 12, 13 games at Chiefs. He only won 3 of them.
Yeah.
3. He only won 3. You know, that's where the league was lost. That's where you sort of saw them. And I think it was a situation where they were found out in terms of the way that they play their football. And when they were found out, suddenly teams knew how to play against Kaizer Chiefs. And unfortunately, this season as well, you've seen that they've only been able to play that way. There've just been too many mistakes. You can't have them playing a different sort of way. And I also do think the squad needs refreshing as well. But regards to Gavin Hunt being sacked, I think it was not the greatest of move from Kaizer Chiefs. I just didn't understand the timing as well. And I think people also mustn't forget that we're talking about a guy who's won 4 league titles. I think we forget quickly. For some reason, Gavin Hunt is a plumber tomorrow, and I'm thinking,
is that a
how?
South African? But is that like a South African issue we have in football here? I don't know. Do we not value what we do have, like the level of respect we give to people? Like, I know Pitso's another example. He came back to like the other day, and people were having a go at the man after what he did. But like Gavin Hunt, for example, you've said it: 4 league championships. The man's inherited a squad during COVID, might I add, in terms of preseason and all the rest of it. He's had to work with what he's had, and that dreadful run towards the end of last season, the confidence has clearly carried over. True. So for a man who's had to pick that up, and you guys are mentioning CAF Champions League and how he's pushing them, how in the world? This for me is case in point of what PSL is all about. The madness as to where people find some sort of pattern and all of a sudden go, you know what, I think it's time to pull the plug. But you're like, whoa. Let the thing play out. I don't know. It's just madness for me. Absolute madness.
Yeah. No, I like Claudio, I certainly agree with you. I think we tend to forget, or we tend to look down on craft. We tend to look down on length of time in terms of achievements of what people have done. You make one mistake today, and all of a sudden you're the plumber. There's some tweets I read, and I'm just like, I can't believe it, man. I mean, we're talking about a guy who won 3 league championships with SuperSport United, and as well as won a league championship with Bidvest, won cups there as well. And don't get me wrong, is the things he should have done better, without a shadow of a doubt. But for me personally, watching Kaizer Chiefs this season, I think more it showed me was how much the squad needs refreshing, because now there's talks of Stuart Baxter coming back, and I'm thinking like Stuart Baxter's going to come back, and here's the funny part. The funny part is Stuart Baxter's going to come back and found players that he left 6 years ago.
Yes.
Like Bernard Parker, Matoho. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Muleko, Kune. He's going to come back. Bernard Parker, he's going to come back and find players that he left 6 years ago. And when you look at Sundowns and the amount of how they sort of refreshing the squad, having to get 8 new players or 9 new players every season, as well as Orlando Pirates. You look at Happy Jealous, probably the last player from years back for Orlando Pirates. That's how much it's changed. And as for Kaizer Chiefs, on the other hand, is that there's so many faces that are there, and you can see even when they're performing, no matter how best they give their performances, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, and you can see that. And you can see. So my thing is that if you're gonna be ruthless and get rid of Gavin Hunt, I can't wait to see what they do at the end of the season, because I would love to see what they do with regards to the squad, because I think also some ruthlessness has to be shown in that squad too.
I think what I've just to add in, and obviously, I can't really speak or speak of who I've heard this from, but I have heard murmurs that it wasn't just about the results necessarily. I think Gavin's a very tough person to work with. I think he wants it his way, and Chiefs wanted their way, and I think Bobby and his board don't like to be told what to do, but Gavin's the type of person to come in and say, listen, I've done this. You guys haven't won a title. You guys haven't won a title for years. I've won one in the last couple of seasons. I've won 3 before that. It's my way or the highway. And I think the highway was what they showed him. To be honest with you, I think he is very hard to work with. I think he's incredible. I think he keeps it very simple. He gets the best out of players. He's a hard coach to work under, but if you get in results, you get in results, and you can't deny that. And I think an institution like Chiefs were probably not ready to succumb to an individual's
demands,
specific needs and demands. From what I understand, which is fair in its own way, but imagine he went on and won the CAF Champions League. I heard a funny stat. Shakes, you could probably you correct me if I'm wrong, but get into the quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League earns you 24 million rand. Winning the PSL earns you 12 million rand. So he already doubled income. I mean, like, regardless of where they finish in the league, it's not going to matter. He's made all that money back anyway, plus more. Now they're in the semi-final.
Yeah, Nick, you mentioned some very good points. So I was actually going to bring that up in terms of the numbers. In terms of when you win the league within the DStv Premiership, you get about 15 mil. And from Kaizer Chiefs being in the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League, they make around 12, 13 million rand. That's the numbers that I saw from articles. And I was thinking to myself, that's some really decent money that they've made with regards to being within that competition. And I think there were certain results that you sort of saw, the way they beat Simba. They beat Simba in a very impressive way. They are the only team, by the way, that beat Mamelodi Sundowns in the league this season. Let's get that right too. Yeah, they're the only team as well to only do it. They beat Orlando Pirates as well. There's certain results that I saw that, wow, imagine if he had his own players, or imagine if he had sort of a refreshing of that squad, or 5 signings or 6 signings. How well would this squad really do? There were some results that you just thought, wow, he beat Wydad. Nobody gave us a prayer, or gave Kaizer Chiefs a prayer for that game as well. So I just sort of think to myself that I understand in terms of its Chiefs do not want to sort of be dictated by one man, but I think with Chiefs it's a thing of I know they've hired Molefenseki to come in and sort of improve the youth development, which does need addressing without a doubt. I definitely agree with that. But Chiefs need to get back to competing. I mean, Chiefs need to get back to competing, and they haven't been doing it for such a long time. I never thought I would ever say 6 years go by and Chiefs have not won anything. Like, man, that's
Greg Up guarantee Chiefs will win one trophy, a cup, something. They would win either the Rothmans Cup, a top 8 or something. I mean, they always BP top 8. There will be just something, EPSA Cup, something. Chiefs always just used to win a trophy or something like that. And I think, as a fan, I think, but just for Arjun and other guys, Kaizer Chiefs is a family-run business, right? The founder is the chairman, and his son is the general manager. So basically, he's the sporting director, if you want to put
and
it
his
like
daughter,
that. His daughter's the marketing director. His daughter's the marketing director, and he's got another daughter who's also involved, and then his son, who's a former soccer player as well. He's involved in the club, but he's not really hands-on. But he's going to be the guy who's going to take over eventually. But Bobby is the one that's problematic for me, because he had a falling out with Stuart Baxter when Stuart Baxter left. Stuart Baxter wanted to make certain changes with the team, and he didn't want to make those changes. And Bobby's the one who's been going to get these buy one get 2 players for free in Zimbabwe, and signing ducks from Seychelles, and that's where the Chiefs got the transfer ban. This is all Bobby's doing, and Bobby has never been suspended or fined, or I don't know, like there's never been a change in his position, in terms of the bad results he's done, because the signings that he's done, as you said, your Walusimbis, people come for 6 months and then we let them go all of a sudden. We sign too often, too many foreigners without really knowing their credentials, when there's so many other good players within the PSL that we could get and actually improve the team. But we do need a squad overhaul. I think, there's certain players I look in the team that are old, they're not really contributing much, and also the defensive frailties of Matoo and Cardoso as a partnership. How can you continue with the same defense that is leaking? They're good players in their own right, but defending is a partnership as a centre back. Ngezana has been played out of position at right back. That also Gavin Hunt. That's one thing Gavin Hunt I didn't like about him. He played players out of position. He played Ngezana right back, whereas Reef Rossler is the best right back in the country. He doesn't start him at right back. He plays him left back. How can you play the best crossing right back in the country at left back? Now he has to cross with his weaker foot. Yes, he can cross with his weaker foot, and he's had assists with the weaker foot. But how can you play the best right back at left back and playing Ngezana, who's an up and coming centre back?
Clearly didn't trust the left back. That's it.
But maybe he was doing it also to expose. Maybe he was doing it to also expose the frailties of the team.
No, he didn't.
But
that's the thing. You can't. Reef Rossler is the best right back in the country. He's picked for Bafana and going to Olympics, the one guy I feel sorry for is that a gay guy, the guy from Kenya. He actually started the season quite well. This season. He actually started the season quite well. We were asking who's this player that got from Kenya. We're like, he's not a good player. But this season, he started the season not too badly. And then all of a sudden, he's not being used in the squad when Matoa comes back from his family bereavements and whatever. Yes, Gavin Hunt made some mistakes, but also the players that he had at his disposal were just not coming to the fore. I think, the highlights, the shining lights are the young players that have actually got an opportunity. Blom, Ngobo, Mashiane and Ngezana, those 4 players, I think they've shown and put their hands up to say, okay, cool, we want to play for Kaizer Chiefs going forward, and we should build our team around Ngobo. Ngobo, I think, is the future of Kaizer Chiefs. He's 21, 22 years old. But yeah, let's see what happens. I think. What do you think in terms of the CAF Champions League? Do you think they can go past Wydad?
That's just tough. This is tough because the reason being I say that is that actually when I watch the CAF Champions League, and in terms of the way teams play, they're more direct within the competition than what you would probably find back home within the DStv Premiership or within the PSL. When you actually watched, even for example, Al Ahly versus Mamelodi Sundowns, Mamelodi Sundowns actually played better than Al Ahly, but with Al Ahly it was more of them being direct, and then they got the goals that they needed to defend really well, and they were more direct, getting in behind Mamelodi Sundowns' defense. The Sundowns had all the possession, and I think that's where Kaizer Chiefs were really helped with having to play within this competition, because the way Kaizer Chiefs plays are direct, route, and it has helped out. And I think even it caught Simba out, because if you look at 3 of the 4 goals, they were all sort of cross header or cross, it gets in, or cross or something along those lines. And I think they play against what Wydad. Wydad beat them 4-0 in the group stages, and then they went and beat Wydad 1-0 back at home. So that one is a toss-up, but I don't think Wydad is going to throw this one away, and I don't think Kaizer Chiefs will get past Wydad. And also another thing that is a point that probably people might need to start talking about is it probably in Chiefs' best interest that maybe they do not proceed in the CAF Champions League? And the reason why I say this is because if they get past the semifinals, then they go into the final. The final is potentially in July. Now, they have a lot of player contracts that are expiring at the end of June. So now, if they happen to go into the final, that means they would have to renew a lot of the contracts of the players that are already there at the club. And now if you're thinking long term, if you're thinking long term, you think, is it the best decision to do? Is it the best decision to renew and go into another season with these guys and try and compete? So I don't think they'll probably get past Wydad, but the fact that they made it to the semifinals is a huge, huge achievement. You can't look down on that.
Yeah, no, I completely.
So Wydad was in their group, eh?
Yes,
the group, yeah. So they lost to Wydad 4-0 in a neutral venue. Where was that? The neutral venue was in DRC or something, I think.
Was it Burkina Faso?
Burkina Faso, it was a Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, you're right. It was a Burkina Faso, the main stadium there. They lost 4-0 at a neutral stadium. And then in South Africa, Chiefs won 1-0 with 10 men for about a whole half. Oh, 9 men. Okay, they played about 40 minutes with 10 men, and then played about 10 minutes with 9 men. But we need to always mention this as well, is that Wydad sent a second string team because
really?
because of COVID rules in Morocco. Is that if your players were coming back from South Africa, they would have to quarantine for 10 days. So they didn't send all their best players. We need to remember that. But also, I think they were happy that they had already qualified for the next round, so they didn't really worry about that result too much. You know, I mean, I think they just needed to win the last game or get a point from the last game to solidify that first place. But in terms of the other semi-final, what do you think of Pitso and his Red Army?
Yeah, they've done really well. They've done really well to sort of make it this far in the competition. They finished second in their group. Let's not forget that. And I gotta tell you, man, I have to admit that when you see Pitso now at Al Ahly, you probably see how much he's grown and how much the Club World Cup has really played a role for him to keep growing in terms of having to face Bayern Munich and having to go to third place within the Club World Cup. You can see a man who's really matured and who's about results, I would say, because even the way they dealt with Sundowns, they didn't play better than Sundowns. I don't think they did, but they got the result, and that was the most important thing. And I think one thing I was impressed with, especially was the first leg, was Sundowns had most of the ball. Sundowns hit the post, I think, twice. But what Al Ahly kept on doing in the game, they were always trying to get in behind. So they were always trying to get the ball in behind all the time. And the one time they scored a very good goal. But when the second goal went in, and Dennis Onyango made the mistake, that's when it clicked to say, oh, that's what they were always doing. They were trying to get the ball in behind because at some point Sundowns is gonna bite the carrot, goalkeeper, defender's gonna make a mistake. And I think he sort of got into a place now where results matter and trophies is what matters, and that's what matters to Al Ahly and them, and that's why hence they become the most historic club within the CAF Champions League and having to win the competitions that they win. It's not necessarily about possession. It's not necessarily about having to play the most beautiful football in the world. And yeah, man, look, at the end of the day, if he retires, he's going to say, I won 2 CAF Champions Leagues with 2 different teams, and that's one credit you have to give it to him.
No, definitely.
He's gonna go play against Thomas Tuchel there. The World Cup.
if they win CAF this season. But Claudio, do you think Pitso as a coach, do you think he could take that leap to coach a European team, whichever league it is in Europe?
You know what? Prior to this Egyptian move, I would have said that statement is completely outrageous. From my when I was still playing and when I came across Pitso, I thought he was the most arrogant man I've ever seen on a football pitch. He then went to Sundowns, and my whole statement at Sundowns is like, yeah, his success, sure, but I mean, he can do as he pleases when he wants to, buy the whole team. And, you know, my expectation of any Sundowns coach is if you don't win the league, you're a terrible coach, because you should be able to do that if you know the bare minimum. That's just my perception. But seeing him throughout the years and now moving to Egypt, the way in which he's conducted himself and the way in which he is conducting himself, there's a humility that's crept in there that I'm looking and I'm actually admiring. And I'm saying this is kind of where the experience and the wisdom are meeting halfway, where in the beginning, guns blazing, doing his thing, obviously got carried away with the success that he had to his head. But he's learning some things, and I wouldn't put it past him. And I made the joke saying he's gone to Egypt because making the next step to Europe's right across the ocean there. It's not too far. But I could easily see him do that if given the opportunity. And I think that's the thing he needs to focus on. Maybe stay there another 2 seasons, win everything he can, win possibly, keep competing at the European, the club world champs and all of that sort of stuff. And I think, yeah, definitely, I think it's on the cards for him if he keeps going this way. And you know what? I'll be the first one to retract every statement I've made about the man previously, because I love to be proven wrong. And right now, he's doing that in my eyes. So well done to Pitso.
He's proving all the doubters wrong, including yourself.
Yeah,
I think it's a definite possibility. I think I'm trying to. Obviously, I don't know the past Al Ahly coaches or past North African coaches.
I'll give you an example now. There's a guy who's going to get signed for, or they looking to sign him, Australian coach for Celtic.
Yes, the guy who was coaching in Japan. Yeah.
He's coaching in Japan. So arguably, if you look at where the FIFA Club World Cup, African teams and Asian teams are probably on a par over the last couple of years. So, you know, if a manager like that is doing it for sort of the same level, and we constantly send in a coach with an African team that's constantly winning year in, year out for maybe 3 or 4 seasons, why not? Why not to a level of Celtic at least, or potentially an Eastern European, even an Eastern European,
or even like a Belgium
country, or a Belgium, or a small. You never know. It's very possible.
I'm curious though. Which club in Europe would take a gamble on an African coach? Let's. True. I mean, if we dig in deeper and we like fine combing all of this, and we're looking at the demographic of the current coaches in all the top spots, and there's all the and this last season it's been very focal with regards to racism and all the other stuff and black coaches, etc., etc. Yeah. So out of curiosity, if the European African coaches can't get a step, like why would they look abroad? So which I suppose my question is, which European club is innovative enough to be open to the idea of bringing an African sort of coach, largely knowing that the perception of African football is lower tier, even though they picked up a lot of the players taken in there?
It's a very good question, Claudio. It's a very good question, especially also considering the fact that Sol Campbell's coming out with a documentary where he's going to be speaking about hard times of having to get into club football and being a manager there or being a head coach there. You saw it at Brighton. Chris Hughton was there. Darren Moore at West Brom as well. I think he's at Sheffield Wednesday, if I'm correct, now. But my thing is that it's a very good question in the sense that it's already hard enough for Black European coaches to get jobs. So which club is going to say, okay, let's go the African guy and let's have him make us stay up? I think the one thing that I'm happy about is that he made the move to Egypt, and he's made probably even South African coaches to be more ambitious as well. Like even with Benni McCarthy, at some point, if he carries on the success with Amazulu, I also want to ask, okay, Omi, we get the Amazulu success, but when do you go that side? Because Pitso did it, and it might be a stepping stone. It might be a breakthrough. And Pitso might not be the first coach to probably coach in Europe, but he would have at least opened the door to us being more ambitious and trying to coach in Europe. So maybe one day someone will go from Al-Ahly or Wydad or Raja Casablanca and then go and manage in Switzerland or something like that,
I think in terms of countries, I think France would be a decent option. I think that you do see a lot of black managers throughout their professional league structure. But in terms of just a point on Al-Ahly, we talk about racism in football, racism in society, but in terms of Arab racism towards African people is actually one of the biggest, more deeper sort of hatred, like in terms of a race for them. And if you read the sort of comments from the chairman of Al-Ahly, all of his board members laughed at him and said, "Are you going to get a black coach?" And he's like, "I'm going to be the first chairman of Al-Ahly to get a black coach, and you guys aren't going to say anything." And there were big question marks in Egypt. I can guarantee you now. If he didn't do well in those that first month, he ended up winning like 2 trophies, even though it might have been set up for him. But if he maybe dropped the ball, he would have absolutely been lambasted. The racism would have been huge. 100%. So I think what I'm trying to get at is the fact that a team as big as Al-Ahly from an Arab nation are
took a chance,
taking a chance, and they're open to it, and they prove into the rest of the world where there are countries in Europe where sort of the Arab culture is quite big. This is acceptable. There are good African coaches. There are good black African coaches. So I think maybe that might just be the catalyst for the rest of the world.
That's interesting. That's good. Because actually, while you guys were chatting, I was like, let me just Google quickly and see if there are African coaches in Europe. I found that there's a Senegalese guy who's coaching at Standard Liège, which is in Belgium. He played in the Belgian league previously. So he's a Senegalese guy. He was appointed on just after Christmas. Then there's another guy, an Angolan coach, Lito Vidigal. He's been coaching a couple of clubs in Portugal and is currently the coach of Marítimo in Portugal.
Oh, amazing.
and there's a Tunisian.
That's good
news.
There's
a former Tunisian international. He's currently coaching a second-tier side in Spain, so the first division, League 2 in Spain. So at least there are 3 managers in what would say the top 6-7 leagues in Europe, including the Portuguese and maybe Belgian top 8, whatever. So there are these, but I think maybe them as well. They've had their different paths to get there. Maybe the Senegalese guy used to play in the league. Then the Tunisian international, he probably also played in Europe and so on. Obviously,
there's a South African coach in Kosovo, Alan Clark. Some of you might know.
That's nice.
Isn't there also a South African coach in the United States, Bradley Cornell?
Yeah, Bradley Cornell.
But he's not. He's the assistant coach.
He's in the periphery.
He's in the periphery.
He was interim coach for
a little bit,
for a month. So he's
coaching his assistant at Reading, I think, still, right? He should be still the assistant at Reading, I think. Yeah. Quinton Fortune. So I think that step can be taken by Pitso. And as you said, Nick, I think that's important. The fact that he's actually already broken certain boundaries by being a black African coach at Al Ahly, the biggest club in Africa, club of the century, the most successful club. It's so for Arjun, Al Ahly is the Real Madrid of Africa. That's who Al Ahly is. Al Ahly is the Real Madrid of Africa. They've dominated African football. They've had the greatest player who's played on the African continent and never went to Europe, Mohamed Aboutrika. So I think it can be possible. Hey Claudia, am I out of time? Yeah, you're talking about player of the season. But moving back to South Africa. Shakes, who do you think has stood out for you in the league this season in terms of being a player of the season? I think the nominees are Kutumela, Shalulile, and Zwane. So Zwane he won it last season. He won all the trophies last season. Player of the season, footballer of the season. He's up again for nomination, midfielder of the season. But I don't think he's had as a dominant season like last season. I think there's been a lot of contributing factors, a lot of supporting costs, similar to a Man City where you've got a Ruben Dias, you've got a De Bruyne, you've got a Gundogan, you've got a Mahrez, you've got a Foden, you've got a Cancelo, all these type of players in Man City, 5 or 6 players that have stood out as a collective and not one shining light. So I think that's the same thing as Sundowns. So, but what do you think in terms of the player of the season trophy?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's been a lot of names that have played really well for me with regards to the season. But if we're going to just solely stick down to those 3, I think Zwane, like you said, had a solid season, had some really good numbers. But I don't think he has been as dominant as he was last season, as you would say. And I think Thabiso Kutumela, same, man. I feel sorry for him because he's playing for Maritzburg. He's playing for Maritzburg United. And for people who are watching elsewhere, that's almost as if you would say, I don't know, which team just survived relegation? Brighton, maybe? You'd say
Newcastle, man. Yeah. Please say Newcastle. Newcastle. It's like saying Alan Saint-Maximin is player of the season.
No. The reason why is I'm about to vouch for him because he's playing for a side that just is survived the last spot in the league, and as well as trying to fight for not finishing 15th. But he sort of carried that club with the number of goals that he scored as well. I think he's 3rd place on the top goals on the top goal scoring charts as well. So I think for someone who carried that club on practically his own and scoring the crucial goals as well, he deserves a really good mention. But unfortunately, I'd have to give it to Peter Shaulile. I think Peter Shaulile has come in to Mamelodi Sundowns. He's fitted in like a glove. He scored goals for Mamelodi Sundowns, scoring crucial goals as well, whether it's the last one or the first one. But he's scoring a lot of crucial goals, and I think he's got 20 in 38 games in all competitions as well. So he's been able to contribute. And also the fact that if you watch Peter Shaulile, he also passes as well. He's also got a number of of assists as well. So he's not just scoring the goals; he's also giving it to Zwane, giving it to Erasmus, giving it to, so he's not a selfish player, despite his numbers would probably say you're selfish, you scored the most goals. But I would probably have to say him and just how easily he's adapted to Sundowns. And yes, it's the best team in the league, but like he just adapted way too easily for me at Sundowns.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That's true. I think, yeah, you are right, because a lot of the times the goals that he scores is the important goals. It's the equalizing goal. It's the winner in the 90th minute, 89th minute. You know what I mean? And then he does his Springbok celebration type thing. He jumps all over the place. And that's the thing, is that being a player that comes from a Highlands Park and coming to a big club like Sundowns, and also he came for a lot of money. They paid a lot of money for him to move from Highlands Park, and actually still having an impact, scoring the 13 league goals and then still scoring the 7 other goals in other competitions. I think you are right. I think he is that player who actually has shone through in terms of the league in itself. I think he's definitely the one. But in terms of who's a player you think that has been underrated this season, or has been a big, let's say not underrated, let's say big surprise.
Well, okay, big surprise. Okay, there's a difference between underrated and surprise,
I want
right?
big surprise. I want to go for big surprise rather. Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote down a number of names here that I just thought were really impressive for me. If I was to say the one on this list that I wrote was probably the one that surprised me the most, I'd probably have to say Makaula for me at Amazulu. I can't believe how really good he's been. Hey, I mean, it's he plays the Kante role for everyone who's watching elsewhere. He plays the N'Golo Kante role for Amazulu, and he's just been really solid in the sense of the number of games that he's played and how much. He doesn't get carded a lot, by the way, so he makes the perfect tackle. He protects the back four.
How do you play like Kante and not get carded, bro? That's ridiculous. How do you play that role and not get carded off him? That is perfection.
Yeah, Kante doesn't get carded a lot, does he? That's how perfect Kante is.
He's clean.
Yeah, I was filthy in that role. That's why I always admire guys who don't get.
He just smiles at the ref, and they feel like bad.
Yeah, that's how he gets away with it. That's how he gets away with it. Yeah. So you're saying the man's timing's perfection, then, Shakes?
Yeah, well, men's timing's perfection on tackles and smiles, right? Yeah. That's what we would say with regards to that. So perhaps for me, I would say surprising because of just how good he's been. I mean, I even tweeted now to just say I don't think I remember a bad game that he had, and I watch a lot of PSL, so I don't think he's had a really bad game this season, and I think he's been really crucial to Benni Makate and Amazulu finishing second place. I'd probably say that's the surprise for me this season.
Not proper. Nick, do you have any shining players there who can go to the PSL from the Varsity Cup? Because it actually does happen from the Varsity Cup. You remember, I think it's Thabo Mngonyama. He was playing for North. Yes. He was playing for Northwest University. Ne?
Yeah, did nothing in our game. He did nothing in our game. I remember that game.
Yes.
Had him in my pocket, just there.
Then we played him at USA at the end of the year, and I saved his penalty. So yeah, he was nothing until he came to us.
Well done, keeper Nick. He's a TTM
and
now.
you must know, Nick's got T-Rex arms to save your penalty.
I think
two-time Nedbank Cup winner, by the way, eh? Two-time Nedbank Cup winner.
Yeah, well, respect that.
I think for me, I think he's done great. I was surprised with the move to TTM. I got a lot of time for Thabo. He spent a lot of time at Tuks himself. I thought he would have kicked on a little bit more after Supersport, but I think for me, the best player to come out of Varsity Cup is Kolo Mlambo. I think he is a superb player. Played at Pirates. I think he's here at Amazulu now. I think he is. In terms of ball distribution, retention of the ball, I think he's probably the best to come out of the tournament. But yeah, in terms of what's to come, I think there hasn't been a tournament for a year, so it will be interesting. There's going to be a lot of new players that are going to sort of light up. I know there was a player from UJ 2 seasons ago. He's at TS Galaxy now. Mogaila. I don't know how to say his name. Yeah, he's a right winger. He signed at Highlands, and then when the transfer went through to TS Galaxy, he's still there. So Owen saw him there, signed him. So there's been a few, but it'll be interesting to see what the players offer this season.
And when does the tournament start?
We start in August. It's to be confirmed with regards to dates, because they're just working out a format, because they're looking at whether or not we'll go into a bubble, but it looks like we are going to go into a bubble.
So if they do go into a bubble, Nick, we're going to have to get Shakes, we're going to have to get Silo, and we're going to have to just comment on the players there so we can get them into the PSL, man. I think that's what the Varsity Cup needs. Needs more eyes. Needs more eyes to promote these players.
It does. But yeah, we hopeful. I mean, I'll have more, hopefully by the end of August, probably 6 or 7 players signed. That's the plan. That will be part of our first team going into the new NFD or Glad Africa Championship season. So that's the aim of the tournament, is to try and promote the guys as soon as possible. And at the end of the day,
these players that you're going to be signing, are these going to be players that you already know more or less, or these going to be open trial? What kind of signings are these going to be?
No, signing the players that will come from my team will sign professional contracts. That's
professional. Okay, that's what you meant.
You're going to lose a couple of your Varsity Cup players that are going to go into
the. That's what must happen. That's what must happen. I think we've got 3 at the moment in my Varsity Cup squad. We've got 3 already signed. My captain will sign a contract, from what I understand. That's what I've been told, and then we'll send another 3 or 4 to the preseason camp. So. It's likely.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
So Shakes, who do you think is the next player you would like to see playing in Europe from the PSL?
Player with a lot of potential. Player who's shown times where he sort of played really well for this club. Doesn't matter how much they've underperformed, he's carried them at times. I'd probably have to say Nkosimpile Ngcobo. I think he's been really good. I think he's shown moments that there is room to grow. There's room to grow, and he's shown terms of quality. Of course, I would love for him to get his numbers up, but a player who is 20 years old, I think 21 years old, I would love it if he went to Europe ASAP, so that he can develop much further and grow much faster as well. But I think he's shown some really good times of quality as well. I would probably have to say him.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
What's going to make him excel in Europe?
So he plays as a number 10, sometimes as an 8, depending on the formation. Sometimes Chiefs plays a 4-3-3, then he plays as an 8, or they play a 4-2-3-1. He'll be the number 10. And I think I agree with Shakes completely, man. I think he's been the best player for Kaizer Chiefs this season. And also at the under-20 AFCON that he played in, I think 2 years ago, right? He was in the team of the tournament when the under-20s went to the semi-finals. He was in the team of the tournament. Only South African player that made the team of the tournament. Then he came back to Chiefs, played a game, then he got an Achilles heel injury.
A long-term injury,
and he was out for 10, 12 months. And then he only came back at halfway through last season. So he never had a pre-season. Obviously, getting back from injury was tough for him. But he's shown the talent since playing for Amajita at under 20 level. So I think he is definitely one of the shining stars, and he'll be going to the Olympics as well, which will be a great way for him to advertise himself to the world.
As Claudia and I, it's been the theme of this show. You must ask that boy about Tux in the semi-final when we knocked him out at the Engine under 18 knockout.
So many plugins there.
Yes, wow, Shakes, you gotta understand, Shakes. Tux is that friend that always comes and spoils the party. We had a Sundowns that year, 2017 Sundowns Chiefs final set up, and the 2 semi-finals were next door to each other. Stars of Africa were playing Sundowns and Tux were playing Chiefs, and we both knocked out the the favorites there, and we set up an underdog final there, which was
listen, man. I won't forget the one party you spoiled was Nedbank Cup. Against Chiefs, man. I think that was the game where Jimmy Tao heard a whistle from I don't know where, and you guys spoiled that party hard. Yo, I remember that game. I remember that game.
You know who had that whistle? Killer boy. Killer had that whistle.
Killer's our kit manager now.
Oh, really? He's moved up.
Yeah, he's a kid manager.
So Shakes, he used to drive our bus, but before our game, we had a horrible spell when we were playing in the Castle League, and this the horrible spell. I'm not gonna point it to anything, but I'm just gonna tell you what he used to do. Was before our games, he used to go on the field. He used to take salt and water, and he'd go into the goals and spray it and do his little thing. And whenever we caught him doing that, those are the games we never, ever won. Never won. So eventually, we went to him and we were like, no, Killer, stop it. You clearly, you're not helping us. I don't know who you're speaking to, but it's not working.
Speaking to the wrong ancestors.
Yeah. But now that I think about it, maybe he was just trying to move up. Maybe he was just trying to get his kit manager job. I don't know what it was. Jeez.
Right. Shakes, as we were still talking about it, I guess what are the chances of South Africa at the Olympics? I think their group is a tough group. It's a really Mexico. I think we got France, Japan and France. So we've got the hosts, France and Japan in the same group, and obviously France have quite a good young contingent, depending on if they're allowed to go to the Olympics as well. I guess that's also another factor where even now we've got South African players who are overseas who haven't come for the camp, who are not going to come for the camp. That's a Tole boy, might not come. Leshabela at Leicester might not come. And then Chauke has decided to play for England instead of South Africa. So he's definitely not coming. The Southampton boy, he's definitely not coming. So what do you think are our chances for the Olympics?
Well, look, let's be honest here. And I'm not honestly expecting a lot from the Olympics. I think the group is too tough. I think it's going to be a great experience, though. So for them to go there and sort of see the level of which the players are at, I think they said something about Mbappe could be playing for France as well, potentially. He could be playing for France as well. So that's going to be, and Kamavinga, I don't know if anyone who's seen Kamavinga, 17 years old or 18 years old, playing for Rennes, very good player, very, very good player. And another thing is, no, he's playing for Rennes in Ligue 1.
Yeah, but isn't he being linked at the moment to the Premier League?
Yes. He is. And I think also another thing is we mustn't underestimate the Asian teams, man. Because I remember watching the Under-17 World Cup, and when we played against South Korea, they ran more than us. I remember watching Mamelodi Sundowns at the Club World Cup against, was it a South Korean team or a Japanese team? I can't remember. And they ran more than us as well. And I just think I can see a similar thing happening here as well. So I think grab the experiences, see what levels we're at, and let's see if we can try progress these kids to senior teams as well. That's the most important thing, if we can try progress them.
Shakes, you might know a bit more than this, but they're not helping themselves at all, Safa, because from what I understand is there's been camps, they've been called off, they were going to UAE, now they're going to Egypt. From what I understand, the rumor is that they couldn't afford the UAE trip. I don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard. I had players.
Shakes, go tweet that quickly. Go tweet that. Let's spread the news.
we had two Tuks players. Atenkosi Dlala. He's just trying to keep fit, and I'm like, "What's happening, dude?" He's like, "Bro, can I come and train with your team?" He's been training with me for the last week, and I said, "But like, what's going on?" He says, "No, we were supposed to camp, but now we're not camping. Now we're camping. We're meeting on Saturday." He didn't know if he was going to Egypt. It's a mess, man. If I'm being honest, you're going to one of the biggest events in the world, and I know not even talking about COVID.
They'll have those dodgy tracksuits that you mentioned.
Those oversized ones that the last time.
Shit.
No. That's, maybe you don't want to comment too much on that, but that's just my views.
Funny enough, the story that I saw was the fact that they said UAE was not allowing people to come into the country.
Okay.
So I did not. Yeah, I'm not sure about the other story as well. But yeah, look, I mean, they're trying to get 2 friendlies with Egypt under 23 and see where they're at. I thought Mo Salah was going to be in the team, but they announced the team and he was not there as one of their overage players, so he was not there. There's still a very solid squad that they're facing against Egypt, and and unfortunately, I would say some of our best players are not part of the squad as well. So even preparations going into Tokyo Olympics is not really going to be at the optimum. That's why I'm not expecting much. But if I would tell the youth or our younger players is just take the experience, man. Take the experience, see the level that some of the players that are at a really good level, and we come back home and we try and progress some of these kids within the club football, within the national team as well. And it hardly happens, but I'm really hoping that it happens this time.
No, true. I think they can try and just make a name for themselves, in that tournament. I think in the past we were at Rio, and then we were at Sydney as well. So, and those players they made a name for themselves. Your Benni McCarthy's, that's how they got the exposure. Keegan Dolly was the captain of at Brazil, and he got the exposure as well, and that's obviously resulted in going overseas. So I think they must just do that. See the other players, but in terms of just before we wrap up soon, who would you pick as the 3 overage players for the Olympics?
Oh yeah, well, if it was up to me, I would probably go in goal. I would say Ricardo Goss should. Oh no, Ronwin. Sorry, Ronwin. No, Ronwin should go. Ronwin should go.
Okay.
Yes, Ronwin Williams should go. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I really do wish Wiso Mlungwana would obviously get the chances if he doesn't go. The second player I would pick is Musa Levusa. I think he's been really class quality. He brings leadership as well at the back. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think he's had a really good campaign as well. And finally, without a shadow of a doubt, it has to be Pitso because he cannot lock doors. He's our sort of type player who can grab the ball and run at defenses, who can try and unlock something, who can try and challenge defenses as well. So that's the 3 players I would take over age players as well.
Okay.
Jez, what's your opinion about the whole overage players for the Olympics? I understand they should have the right to compete at the Olympics, but should it not be something where we should be focusing, giving the younger players an opportunity to be when we're looking at it? I mean, there are so many platforms for all leagues for the senior players to become a success. There's no reason to rob the younger guys of that opportunity. Is that something you guys share the opinion of, or do you think it should be something that they keep pursuing?
Yeah, no, you're definitely right, Claudio, especially considering the fact that it's the younger players that got themselves in this position to go there. So I would, if it was up to me, I would just send youngsters straight away. The reason for overage players is, I guess, to add some sort of experience, maybe to add some little bit of more competitiveness per se. But if it was up to me, I would just say youth all the way. And I think we needed to see how far behind or where we are compared to other countries. Like whether we get smashed or not, I think we just need to see, okay, this is the level that they're at. This is the level where we are, and now we need to improve to get to that level,
No, true. I think, in the interest of time, just some final thoughts from your side, Sheikh, in terms of the PSL season as a whole, reflecting on what you see in the season, in terms of also looking forward into next season. I think the Soweto Giants are not going to be in the top 3, which is obviously not normal. I think Pirates still has a chance to be in the top 3. They are going into the final day. They're third. Because Chiefs did them a favor. Chiefs did them a favor. Chiefs did them a favor, but also Pirates did Chiefs a favor by beating Morocco. So we had to each do each other favors. So they're number 3, which is the CAF Confed position. So what do you think in terms of going into the next season and reflecting on the last season?
Yeah, I think there's been really some good things that have come out of the season. I think the fact that we saw the rise of Amazulu, Orlando Pirates know that they need to come back. I think Kaizer Chiefs will be watching them closely within the transfer market in terms of what they do. Cape Town City and Eric Tinkler are going to do well. So you sort of think in Super Sport 2, they've got a really good squad. So you sort of think that perhaps maybe next season it might be closer than what it is this season. I think it's going to be a lot more closer. It's going to be a lot more competitive, and I think we need that. I think we seriously need more competition as well. We need more competition. We need more teams. We need Amazulus doing what they're doing as well. So I'm really looking forward to next season. I'm looking forward to seeing in terms of how teams are going to perform, and as well as Baroka, they've performed really well, and let's see them improve. Teams that you would usually see at 14th, 13th position, let them get higher, let them get to 8th, let them get to 9th, and then before then they get to 5th, and let's see as to what happens. So I'm expecting more competition next season.
That's good. There's a question that just came in now. Just thoughts on Mandla and Ngazi's season at Arrows.
Oh, amazing season. The way he's taken out Arrows in terms of the way that they've been able to defend, especially even a lot of their players are linked to other clubs now because of such a good season that he's had. And I got to give him credit. I think his calmness, his composure, he's been amazing this season. He's never really looked like he's panicked throughout the whole season. And to take Golden Arrows to 4th position, absolutely brilliant. I think he's had a really great season for sure.
They should have beat us yesterday. They had so many chances missed yesterday. I even saw a tweet that you put out yesterday, just to thank Bruce Vuma in terms of what he's done in the last couple of games since the injuries and suspensions to Akbe and Kune. If it wasn't for Bruce Vuma, and obviously there was 2 chances at the end of the first half where Arrows missed clear-cut opportunities. I think but Arrows has done very well. 4th position. It'll be interesting to see what they do. And then gents at the bottom, Coach Nick, final thoughts?
No, I think just from my side, thanks Shakes for joining us. It's always good to hear another person's perspective, especially because you're so heavily involved. So it will be nice to see, how the sort of, there's different challenges in the league coming this weekend for guys who want to survive, finish higher on the log. So we'll see how it goes, and I look forward to next season, and hopefully we can get you back on the show soon.
Yeah. Perfect. Claude, you former football child star.
For me, it's more of a question directed at Shakes, and I want him to finish off with this. Your prediction for the next Kaizer Chiefs manager.
Stuart Baxter.
Is that someone you want, or is that someone you just think that's gonna happen?
I think it's going to happen. Is he someone that I want? I mean, obviously, we need clarification. Koloki apologized, like Safa said, with regards to the comments that he made in India. Look, he's won at Kaizer Chiefs. He's the last coach we've had who won at Kaizer Chiefs as well. So, let's welcome him back. I think if everything is settled regarding his comments, then I think, I think it's not a bad decision to bring Stuart Baxter back. It's not a horrendous decision. It's not a horrendous decision. It could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Hey, there's your brother. Your brother's asking you what's Shakes' advice for kids who want to analyze the game at the same level he's at.
Wow. I would have to say is watch a lot of football. I would probably have to say have a passion for it. You have to seriously have a passion for it. If you don't have the passion, it's eventually going to show. So in order to be able to just watch the games, love the sport, love what you do, and be consistent. Be consistent and be confident within yourself. That's what I would have to say.
Oh, okay. Man, you know what? I know we're meant to wrap up, Silo, but I've got to ask the question. Why Arsenal? Why? You just said you're clearly influenced. You're clearly influenced at a young age. That's let
me tell you what happened. What happened was years ago. Very years ago. I changed the channel on the TV at the time. I was very, very young. And I saw the Invincibles at the time. I think it was 2002, so it wasn't Invincibles.
They sold you the Dream Boy.
And I saw Thierry Henry, man. I saw Thierry Henry, and I thought, man, this guy's good, man. I don't know where he's from, but I was like, this guy's good. So I always made a plan to watch him because of how good he was, and I couldn't leave the club. I'm a sucker for abuse, guys.
Hey, man, and people always say, this season is the worst time to be an Arsenal and Kaizer Chiefs supporter combination. At least I support Man United and Kaizer Chiefs. So at least I've had positive and negative.
It's funny you say that. I actually was a time I was sitting and I was speaking to my partner saying, I don't think I've had a weekend where Chiefs and Arsenal won the same weekend. I don't think I've ever. It's either that one wins, that one loses, that one wins, that one loses. I've never had it. I've never had it this season.
Damn. No, cool. No, but yeah, no, Shakes, thanks for being on the show, and yeah, hopefully we can have you again on the show again. And thanks to the guys that tuned in and commented, Arjun, Aman, Shabs Medallion, Absolute Football, and all the other guys. Yeah, it's been a good show. And yeah, we'll check you on the next episode.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Cheers,
Thanks a lot, man.
Cheers, thanks a lot. Cheers.